Good afternoon again to everyone joining us today. And this is our webinar series on developing your IP and startups with corporate strategic alliances. And today we are featuring Ultratech International, another member of our corporate selection committee for the upcoming demo day. Before we begin, I'd like to let you know that early registration is now open for the October 16 to 17 demo day in Washington, D.C. So all you need to do is go to our website and take a look at the 4 programs that we are highlighting at the event. So obviously the first one is the University Startups Demo Day, where we'll feature the top scoring companies that were ranked and scored by our corporate selection committee to present live at the event. And we are also featuring universities that submit IP and patents to us through the IP to Startup program. And we are inviting them to not just submit for their IP to be scored by our corporate selection committee, but invite them to come to the conference as well if their IP or their patents receive significant scores and interest from our corporate selection committee. And the last 2 is our Investor Roadshow and the Startup Development Officer Program. So the Startup Development Program is very interesting, especially to universities who are looking to develop their IP and to startups, and that is a new program that NCET2 started. So you'll know a little bit more about number 4, the 4th program, when I talk about the upcoming webinars this month. But before we do that, I just like to remind everyone that for this demo day, if you'd like to submit either a startup or a or IP, the deadline is August 25th, so that's next week. So hopefully the people on the call already have their applications lined up, and we're looking forward to receiving them. Just so you know, again, the deadline is August 25, and we are accepting both startups and IP. Now, for these 2 submission categories, they will be scored by our corporate selection committee. And as I mentioned earlier, Ultratech is one of the members of our corporate selection committee that are looking at startups and IP this year. So for our upcoming webinars, I mentioned earlier that we have a new program called the Startup Development Officer Program. So that's on August 16. That's on Wednesday. So if you have not registered yet for that webinar and you're interested to know how NCET2 can develop your IP into startups through the help of the corporates that we work with, all you need to do is go to ncet2.org/webinars, and you should be able to find the link to register there. Then next week, we are starting a new webinar series called the Startup Development Webinar Series, and our first webinar in that series is how to create a business plan. So if you're a university and you're helping your startups, or if you're an entrepreneur or a grad student or a faculty member and would like to start your own startup, this would be a good an introduction to how to create a business plan in order for you to plan strategically over the next 2 to 5 years if you plan to start a startup. All right, so going forward, a couple of housekeeping items. We will have Q&A at the end of the session, so all you need to do is type in your questions in the questions box of your GoToWebinar panel, and you should see that on the right side of your screen. The questions will be queued, obviously, but we will try to get through as many questions as we can during this webinar. Also, the slides and video are going to be made available 24 to 48 hours after the webinar concludes. All you need to do is go to our webinar page, or you can go straight to our YouTube channel, where you can find not only this webinar but other webinars that we've done in the past. All right. So I'd like to introduce our speaker today. We are very fortunate to have him speak in today's webinar and talk about their technical needs and what they're doing in Ultratech International. So Mark Shaw is the founder, president, of CEO of Ultratech, and Ultratech is an environmental products company. They have over 400 products responding to spills, and they are distributed in over 97 countries. So if you're if you're doing a research on chemicals or anything similar, this would be a webinar that you would be very interested to listen to. So I'll turn it over now to Mark so he can talk a little bit more about what they're doing. And again, we encourage everyone to listen intently so when you submit your startups and your IP, you have an idea as to what Ultratech is looking for. So, Mark, are you there?
I am. Thank you very much, Ria.
Hi, Mark. So, I made you presenter now, so we should be able to see your screen in a few seconds. There you go.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you joining us today. To tell you a little bit about Ultratech, we were established in 1993. As Ria mentioned, we have over 400 products. One of the things to note is we have over 65 patents. So we understand the side of the inventor, the patent process, and how to take something from just an idea into a patent, incubate it into a product, commercialize it, and get it to market. We've done that many, many times now over the past 25 years. Our core business, as Ria mentioned, was environmental products. But we have recently created the Advanced Technology Group back in 2013, which I think will be of most interest to those attending today. I'll get into that here in a few minutes. We also have a sister company that's a captive manufacturing facility in Ohio that rotationally molds plastic products in about 110,000 square foot facility for our own use and based on the products we've developed and designed. We sell primarily through 1,500 distributors in 97 different countries, and our core business markets include spill containment, spill response, oil spill, rad waste products, stormwater, facility protection, microbes. And when we're dealing with our markets and our core markets, we end up touching everybody from a dry cleaner to a transportation company to the military to schools and government, large businesses, small businesses. About everybody out there has some sort of a waste, hazardous, oil-related, and stormwater and so forth. So we really have a very, very broad reach as far as who we contact and who we sell to worldwide. This is an example. Some of you may have seen these kind of products before. We're credited with creating this market back in the early 80s, actually, when I first got out of college. The Advanced Technology Group, which we'll refer to as ATG here, was developed for one reason, and that was to be the bridge between universities, companies, and people who have great technologies and products, and to be that bridge to the markets that need them. And the best way to start off by explaining what the Advanced Technology Group is and how it could help university related ideas, concepts, startups, and licenses is basically the following manner.
Meet Phil. Phil skipped the 4th grade, was a valedictorian of his high school, and graduated at the top of his engineering class in college. Now Phil works at a large university where he and his colleagues have developed an amazing new technology, the world's first self-tying shoes. Phil knows in his heart that there's a real market for his new invention, but as intelligent and technically savvy as he is, Phil is so focused on his inventions that he doesn't have the time to bring his self-tying shoes to market. Here's a fact of life. Not everyone's main focus is business. Oftentimes, this includes those that are creative and technologically advanced. Because of this, there are many game-changing technologies that never make it to the marketplace, because the great minds behind those technologies have devoted their expertise and focus to their innovation and lack the time or resources to create a company, then create the needed products, and then take them to the marketplace. This hurts not just the inventors, but consumers and companies that could desperately use those technologies. But the Advanced Technology Group from Ultratech International wants to change that. ATG serves as a bridge between the developers of those great products and technologies and the people and businesses that need them. With access to Ultratech's 1,800 distributors in more than 80 countries, ATG has the experience, resources, and proven results to quickly get vital products and technologies into the marketplace. The great news for scientists, engineers, and inventors is that ATG is actively seeking the newest and most exciting technologies being developed all around the world so we can develop a partnership and bridge them to market. What kind of technologies? Well, to name a few, a super hydrophobic spray coating that repels almost everything and has caused quite a buzz on YouTube. An omni-repellent fabric treatment that will repel water, dirt, and meet Phil. Phil skipped the fourth
Sorry
grade.
about that. Let me get to where we were.
Consumers and companies that could desperately use those technologies. But the Advanced Technology Group from Ultratech International wants to change that. ATG serves as a bridge between the developers of those great products and technologies and the people and businesses that need them. With access to Ultratech's 1,800 distributors in more than 80 countries, ATG has the experience, resources, and proven results to quickly get vital products and technologies into the marketplace. The great news for scientists, engineers, and inventors is that ATG is actively seeking the newest and most exciting technologies being developed all around the world so we can develop a partnership and bridge them to market. What kind of technologies? Well, to name a few, a super hydrophobic spray coating that repels almost everything and has caused quite a buzz on YouTube. An omni-repellent fabric treatment that will repel water, dirt, and mud in just about any fabric. A system to remove deadly hydrogen sulfide gas from water treatment plants. And a nano-based odor removal technology. If you've developed the next game-changing technology and need a company to partner with to help get it distributed worldwide, consider the Advanced Technology Group as your resource and bridge. Meet Phil. He turned his product over to the Advanced Technology Group, and now he's working on his next great idea, knowing he'll have access to the bridge to success.
So that gives hopefully an idea of what ATG is all about and why it was created. And we have had the opportunity to bring now 6 different technologies to market. And as you can also see, they're not all the same target market. They tend to vary in the scope and who they're to be sold to and what they do. So we do have a lot of bandwidth in what we can go after. But we are looking for disruptive, cutting-edge technologies that are probably somewhere around the range of 75 to 90% developed, but are not yet commercialized. And so when we get in, the ATG group will incubate those technologies into marketable products, and then we'll commercialize them through Ultratech's channels of distribution. We are looking for worldwide exclusive opportunities or exclusive and some defined market opportunities or private label deals. So that's the scope of what we are seeking. As I mentioned, we're open to virtually any market or technology. There are a few exceptions where we don't feel like we bring enough to the table to make it worth our while or your while. That would be healthcare and medical, IT, and software. But outside of that, we're more than willing to take a look at it. Nanotechnology is of particular interest to us. Of the 6 technologies we have now, 4 of them utilize nanotechnology as part of its core materials or building blocks of the technology that we're bringing to market. So what have we done to date? We're going to hit those briefly here, but you can see we've got a suite of products here that have been basically were an idea at some point and are now out in the market being sold. The Ultra EverDry, some of you may have seen this. We had a video that went viral a few years back, and to date we've got over 50 million views on YouTube of that video, as well as other videos that have come out of that. It's a super hydrophobic, oleophobic spray-on coating, and it's changing the way we waterproof our lives. We have an industrial version. of it, and it brings super hydrophobics kind of to the forefront that hadn't really been known very well out there by the general public. We private labeled that particular product line from a group of scientists who kind of fit the bill that we talked about in the video that you saw. They were a group of scientists, and bringing the product to market and helping them commercialize it was something we were able to do with them. It also led to a TED Talk, those of you that are familiar with those. 2 weeks after our video went viral, TED called and asked if we would give a TED Talk on the technology and nanotechnology and the EverDry. And 2 weeks later, we were on the TED stage giving a talk. Second product came out of Ultra EverDry from the standpoint that a lot of people thought it was great technology, but they wanted it to use it on clothing and apparel. And the EverDry itself wouldn't hold up to that application. So we were on the search for something that would, and we came across a super hydrophobic, oleophobic fabric treatment that was developed under SBIR with the military. About 8 years ago, a military general approached Natick, their R&D facility for the military, and said he wanted self-cleaning battlefield uniforms so they wouldn't have to launder uniforms in battlefield conditions. And $2 million of taxpayer money. And about 6 years after that, they were able to come out with something that worked and was a success from the standpoint of the SBIR. And we were very fortunate that we were able to get a worldwide exclusive to that technology. And we've been bringing it to the market since. We had to do some final development to take it from a military state to a commercialized state. But it developed a whole new level of repellency. And some of the recent adoptions have been coating pet bedding with it, hunting apparel, hats, clothing, shirts and pants. And there's a variety of things that are being tested and underway now, everything from carpeting to upholstery, the fabric you see inside of automobiles. So there's a lot of things that are potentially going to come out with this product as part of it. It's a water-based product, and it's really best in class as far as its performance in the marketplace. Next product, again, to give you some idea of the scope of the different things we get into, Gen 2 was named after Antarctic penguin, which sheds water and oil. And this is a little different than EverDry. It's complementary, but what this is a sol gel technology that, again, came out of an SBIR with the military. This is a hydrophobic, clear. It's durable and abrasion resistant. It's got a low sliding angle, and it makes it easy clean. That's a lot of benefits in one coating. Most coatings have one or two things it does well. This does a lot well, and it's part of the reason why we throw the question out there, is it the holy grail of coatings, because it does so much. General applications include anti-graffiti, anti-corrosion, anything that needs easy cleaning. It's being looked at by about 5 different major automotive companies as perhaps the next clear coat for automobiles. Anything that needs anti-staining or anti-wet. Solar panels is being tested on, turbine blades, mining equipment, just a lot of different places where this could be applied. And this was actually developed under, as I mentioned, SBIR for the military. They wanted to have something they could put on the canopies of F-16 fighter jets to allow water and mud to shed off so that they could have good visuals up there and still be able to go into a major rainstorm at 500 miles an hour and not affect the coating. We obtained exclusive license worldwide for this from the developmental lab that was involved in the SBIR. Another product would be S3. This was stands for sulfide solution system. And it's a unique oxidizer that when combined with hydrogen peroxide will eliminate hydrogen sulfide and other recalcitrant chemicals, and usually saves about 30 to 60% over traditional liquid oxidizers. It's well suited for the wastewater treatment, landfills, farms, sewer drop stations, anything that needs to remove that odor that's associated with hydrogen sulfide and other chemicals. And we obtained a private label license from a small company to make this happen. It's non-toxic and it works in minutes. What some hydrogen peroxide by itself would take maybe 2 hours to actually start to break down something in a wastewater treatment facility, and when combined with the H2S, excuse me, the hydrogen peroxide, it works in about 2 to 3 minutes. Avejo, which means in Latin to remove, is really a cutting-edge odor removal product that was under 12 years of development by Kimberly-Clark. They originally were set out to make odor-free diapers, and they, in fact, after 4 years, accomplished that. They had odor-free diapers, but were set back when they found out that their market studies showed that parents wanted diapers to smell, so they knew when to change them. But they kept on with it, and today they have over 11 patents, and we were fortunate enough to be given the exclusive worldwide license from them for this technology. We've commercialized it, brought to market. It can be sprayed on, it can be added to liquid, and with all the testing that Kimberly-Clark has done and all the testing that we've done and other people outside of our company, we found nothing that's more effective in removing malodors. It's about 45 days away from going into the retail markets to compete with some of the bigger brands that are out there. And finally, this fall, we're coming out with the Tactical Welder. And with the Tactical Welder, it's going to be the first portable backpack welder that allows you to weld anywhere you want. No need for a generator and a welding machine. Everything's included in a backpack. 300 amps, half a kilowatt of energy, and 26 pounds. It's going to allow for MIG arc welding, flux core welding. It's capable of making certified welds up to into a half-inch steel. It's what we envision as the first in the line of portable high-energy equipment that will allow us to take things that hadn't been able to be portable before and hadn't been able to have the high-energy requirements met by batteries, and it will allow us to get into a line of products in that regard. We're also taking this technology and applying it to energy storage, peak shaving, and other battery-related applications. And this was an example where we got an exclusive worldwide license from an individual inventor who happens to be a dual PhD in electronics and electrical engineering. So the question then is, what will be the next product for ATG? Does yours fit into something that might be of interest to us and to you folks? So what's to expect of Ultratech and ATG as you hear this today? Well, one thing is that we're small. We're small enough to make things happen. We're small enough to move quickly. We're nimble in the marketplace, but we're large enough to have the resources to put into the development, the incubation, the R&D that it takes to get the product ready to go to market. And we're large enough to then take it to market and have the scope, both in channels of distribution and in marketing and in selling, to be able to bring success to the product line. As a company, we're extremely passionate and highly motivated. That becomes very evident as people start to deal with us. And we're deeply experienced with an eye for winners. As we mentioned, we brought out over 400 products that sell to all sorts of different industries, and it gives us a lot of experience to know what works and what doesn't, and what can be successful. Our proven channels of distribution are a plus. Gets to the market very quickly that way. And what we're looking for are licenses, private label deals, and collaboration on technologies that you might have available. You'll also find us fun to work with. We're not a stifling type of company. We think that the people that we work with and the people that work here have a lot of fun in what we do. So we encourage you, as Reed mentioned earlier, to take advantage of the demo day. And if it's not us that you can work with, perhaps one of the other companies that are involved with this group will find interest in what you do, or you an interest in them. So it's worth checking out. You do have to get those applications in by the 25th at the end of this week. And then they do have one-on-one meetings at the demo day. So I'll personally be the one attending. So if you have something that's interesting, you'd like to see if there's an opportunity for us to talk further, setting up a one-on-one meeting at the demo day would be certainly one way to do it. And of course, you're encouraged to contact us with any of the ideas you might have, and we can talk further before then. So Ria, I think now's the time to open it up to questions. I hope we get some. I don't want to be embarrassed, but let's see what happens.
Don't worry, we do have questions, so it'll keep you busy, I guess. I think. All right. So we have right now I think I have I have 6 questions lined up, but I do see a few more coming in, so I'll just let you know how many we have once we reach the mid mark of the first batch of questions that we have here. All right, let me just start this off. And as Mark mentioned, um, if you have technologies or startups that you think fit his technical requirements, just submit them to the demo day. Our first question is, here we go. Do you also look at IP? If you do, what kind of partnership or work do you do with the inventor?
So several of the products that I showed you that we've gotten involved with do include an inventor. Having 65 patents myself, I think I'm in a unique position to understand the mindset of an inventor and the things that go through an inventor's mind when they're dealing with companies and with their inventions. So that's something that not all corporate entities can provide, is that ability to have empathy and understand what an invention means to an inventor and how to treat it in a way that you'd want your own invention to be treated. So working with inventors is something we certainly like to do, and I'm not afraid to do. Some companies don't like to deal with inventors because we can be a different breed. But the partnership typically would be anything from strict license. You give us a license, we take it from there, to on the tactical welder as an example. We've worked very closely and have actually brought the inventor on the payroll to help develop the product for us further because of his unique skill set.
Okay, I have the next question up now. What criteria do you use to work with startups and universities? Do you need startups to have a working product or sales?
Working product would be important to us. It doesn't have to be a perfected product, but something that shows us that we can get there is important. Sales is not necessary, as we mentioned in the previous presentation here. If you have something that's 75 to 90% ready to be commercialized, that's kind of our sweet spot.
All right, perfect. Our next question is, can you describe the type of partnership you usually have with startups that align to your needs?
We haven't really done deals yet with startups per se. We've done them with companies that have been around for a few years, 2, 3, 4 years, trying to get to a point where they could commercialize the product, but hadn't done so. But they were part of a larger organization. So, and then the other ones have been with either SBIRs, licensed technology from the developmental lab, or with an individual inventor. So we don't have a partnership template for dealing strictly with startups. The challenge I think we would have with startups is that the startup wants to take it, sell it, market it, and do all that, and that's kind of what we're here for. So for the most part, if you're at a university and a professor has a great idea and they want to get it to market, but they want to continue doing what they do and don't want to be part of a startup, we're a great outlet for that, because you could turn it over to us. We'll continue to work with the individuals involved, rely on their expertise, but we'll do all the blocking and tackling and getting it to market and taking it from there. They can go back and come up with the next great idea and know they can bring it back to us, and it's another opportunity to work together again. So startups that want to do it all themselves, we don't really have the best opportunity for that as much as we have for someone who wants to turn it over to us and let us handle it from there.
All right, great. Our next question is, in your opinion, do you find IP or startups you're interested in from universities, are they generally market aligned?
No, I don't I wouldn't say I generally find them market aligned. I think they're more products offered. In other words, there's been a great idea sitting around in the lab one day and they work on it and they develop it. But I wouldn't say it always comes from the market, which would be more of a market needs product. And typically market needs products are generally more successful. But Stephen Jobs, used to say that they have to create the products because the consumers don't have any idea what Apple was capable of creating. So he definitely came at it from a different way. So both can be successful, but generally speaking, I don't think that the universities have as much market analysis or they're not in the market every day like a company like our company would be, where we kind of know what the market needs and wants, and we're looking for those kind of opportunities more so than something that's just came out of a lab somewhere without a lot of market data.
Okay, great. Here's our next question. Does the ATG also have mentoring programs?
We do not. As I mentioned, we're smaller in size, so our resources right now are all set towards taking the technologies that we've committed to market and make them successful. We just don't have a lot of room for mentoring this time.
Okay, Mark, just so you know, we have another 5 questions lined up. So here is the next one. Do you provide letters of support for SBIR applications?
Yes, we do. As long as it's within the scope of what we would be interested in, we're happy to do that.
Maybe as a follow-up question, how do the companies approach you for an SBIR application? Do you engage them before, or how is the story usually when they ask for the application?
It's happened a couple ways for us. We've either got a phone call out of the blue saying that they're familiar with what we do and they've got a technology they think we would be interested in. Here's what it is. Would we be interested in it, number one? And if so, would we be willing to state that in a letter they could submit with their SBIR application? Mm-hmm. So that's one way it's happened. The other way is that there's one company that they're a developmental laboratory that does a lot of SBIRs. We've licensed 2 of their technologies, and when they have other SBIRs they put out there, they say, oh, this is a great one for Ultratech. Let's give them a call and see if they'd be interested. So there's a few of those that are floating out there where we have had interest and they're out still waiting to see if they get funding or not.
Okay, perfect. Here is another question about cooperative research. Do you do it with universities or startups?
We have not at this point, but as hopefully you're getting the feel, we're pretty open to new ideas and new ways of doing things. So if there was an opportunity to do something together, we'd certainly be willing to explore it.
Sorry. I was muted the entire time. I'm sorry. Let me do that again. So do you only work with startups or do you also work with large corporations or corporates?
We're really open to, we've done everything from an individual inventor who's 72 years old and still has a lot of energy and has a great idea with the tactical welder, to a company as big as Kimberly-Clark, which is, I believe, is a $40 billion corporation. So it can span the gamut of size.
All right, and as of now, we have 4 questions left. So this is the one of the 4. Would you work with a startup who needs specific coating for their product, hydrophobic, oleophobic, easy to clean, odor removal, etc.?
Yes, we would. There's an example of a company right now that's a startup here in the town we happen to be in, Jacksonville, Florida, that is creating drones with software that can paint buildings and paint towers and paint ships and things like that. And the ability to keep them free of the paint as it's being painted. So they're using some of our coatings for that. And so we're working with them to provide that. And they've actually done some demos in the back of our building, painting the back of our building as a place to do some demos. So working with startups that might need some of the products we currently have is certainly something we'd be interested in. And then depending on the circumstance, I know I mentioned that we weren't looking for startups that want to do everything, but there may be some opportunities because of our technologies we currently have that makes working with a startup certainly worthwhile for both of us.
Okay, and here we go. Here's the next question. Aside from the technology alignment, what other criteria do you look at to engage with a startup?
I guess it would be the people involved and what their goals are. How would we fit into it? There could be one way I can envision us helping a startup would be to be a private label for them. If they don't want to give up everything and they want to take their own brand to the market, well, we could be the other brand and they could get to the market in several different channels. And that could be a good strategy for many companies. Also, it aligns us with them to be able to help them perhaps ask questions or learn how to take the products to market and not make the same mistakes we've made in the past. They can get a quicker entry to market with less errors by working with a company like ours.
Okay, and this is the second to the last question. How extensive is your work at or cooperation with universities?
We probably sat down and met with a half dozen universities where we've been interested in their technologies. We got a little look at it while we were there, talked to the professors and the principals involved, sometimes the people who were involved in licensing at those universities. To date, nothing has worked out, but it's still of great interest to us.
Okay, and our last question, I think this might be interesting to you, Mark. What advice would you give inventors who are looking to commercialize their product or start a business? Not all inventors are entrepreneurs.
Right, and that's certainly why we started the Advanced Technology Group, is because many inventors are so technically capable that that's where they turn to, and they just haven't spent a lot of time learning business or, quite frankly, have an interest in it. So if not a company like the Advanced Technology Group or Ultratech, certainly one place to look would be at some sort of a company that you could align with and have them bring the product line on, if it's and make it a part of their offering, to collaborate with them, to have them license it. That's, boy, being an inventor, I mean, we've all heard that, it's like 1 out of 100 inventions out there ever make it successfully to the marketplace. And if you can find the right kind of company to align with, that can certainly help the odds immensely. And that company can be big. It could be, a large multinational corporation, and it could be small. But what it's going to come down to is the people that are assigned to work on it. You've got to have a lot of faith and a good gut feel that they're going to be the ones that are going to put the energy into it and see the same vision you see and have the passion you have to bring that to market.
Okay, thank you, Mark, for your time today. Those are all the questions that we have lined up. And before we close today's session, Mark, do you have any last words for our audience this afternoon?
I guess not really, other than to sum up that the fact that you're reaching out and listening to these webinars from a variety of sources is a great thing. I'm so thrilled that these innovation sites have popped up, groups like this one here that Ria's working with have made themselves available. It just seems like there's an awful lot of interest in a lot more ways for inventors and universities and startups to find success today. So it's helping turn the 1 out of 100 to 1 out of 20, and I think that's the big step forward.
All right. Again, thank you, Mark, for your time. And to our audience today, the final deadline to submit your startups or your IPs on August 25th. And if you'd like to engage with Ultratech, submit to the demo day, and Mark is part of our corporate selection committee. He'll be reviewing the IP and the startups that come in, and hopefully one of them will be, or a few of them will be of interest to him. Aside from that, to those who are listening today, if you're interested in learning more about how we convert your IP into a startup, please log in or register for the two webinars that are upcoming this week and next week. One is the Certified Startup Development Officers webinar, where we talk about the program where we work with universities and corporations, like Mark or the other members of their corporate selection committee, to turn IP into commercializable startups. And on Thursday next week, on the 24th, we have the start of our startup development webinar series. And the first webinar is how to create a business plan. So we hope to see you there. Again, thank you, Mark, for your time this afternoon. We know you're very busy, but we really appreciate you taking the time to talk about your company and to answer the questions that we had this afternoon. And thank you to our audience. And please check your emails for updates on the video and the slides as soon as they're available. And we hope to hear from you or to see you at Demo Day this year. Thank you and good afternoon.